Montgomery's authority over American forces was reduced to one army for one operation. The precedent that American armies would be commanded by Americans was reestablished. But Bradley was not satisfied with Montgomery keeping Ninth Army even temporarily. He believed Montgomery would use the Rhine crossing to argue for extended command. He believed Montgomery would find reasons to delay returning the army. He told Eisenhower to watch Montgomery carefully. Eisenhower told Bradley the decision was made. Montgomery needed Ninth Army for the Rhine crossing. After that operation, the army would return. Period. Montgomery spent February and March planning Operation Plunder. The assault across the Rhine would be the largest river crossing of the war. Massive artillery bombardment. 2 airborne divisions dropped behind German lines. Ninth Army would be the southern prong of the attack. Simpson's Ninth Army worked closely with Montgomery's staff. Simpson respected Montgomery's organizational skills and thoroughness. The planning was meticulous, every detail anticipated. Montgomery's strength was preparing set-piece operations where nothing was left to chance. But Ninth Army officers noticed something troubling. Montgomery's staff talked about operations beyond the Rhine as if Ninth Army would remain under British command. Plans for advancing into northern Germany included Ninth Army forces. No one mentioned the army returning to American command after the crossing. The plans didn't just ignore Bradley, they treated the Ninth Army as a permanent fixture of the British 21st Army Group. Eisenhower said he would handle it after the Rhine was crossed. On March 22, 1945, Patton's Third Army reached the Rhine near Oppenheim. Within hours, elements of Third Army were across the river. Patton called Bradley immediately. His instructions were specific. "Tell the world we're across. I want the world to know Third Army made it before Monty starts his engines." Patton's crossing was opportunistic. He saw a weakly defended section of river and attacked immediately. No massive preparation, no elaborate planning, just rapid exploitation of German weakness. This was more than a tactical victory. It was a demonstration of American mobile warfare doctrine in its purest form. Montgomery heard about Patton's crossing and was furious. This was typical American recklessness. The Rhine required proper preparation. Patton had gotten lucky. The real crossing would be Operation Plunder, where professional planning ensured success. But Patton had proven something important. The Rhine could be crossed without Montgomery's elaborate preparations. American methods worked. The warrior had beaten the politician by one day. Operation Plunder launched on March 23, 1945. Over 300,000 Allied troops participated. Ninth Army attacked from the southern sector. British and Canadian forces attacked from the north. Massive artillery support. Airborne divisions seized key positions. Engineers constructed bridges under fire. The operation succeeded. Montgomery's forces crossed the Rhine and established a substantial bridgehead. German resistance was heavy, but Allied strength was overwhelming. By March 25th, forces were advancing beyond the river into Germany. Montgomery declared the operation a complete success. Perfect execution. The northern route into Germany was open. British and Commonwealth forces had led a massive river assault that demonstrated careful planning could overcome any obstacle. American newspapers noted that Patton had crossed first with fewer casualties and less preparation. Operation Plunder was impressive, but it followed Patton's proof that the Rhine could be taken rapidly. Simpson's Ninth Army performed excellently during the operation. American troops had done much of the fighting. Montgomery praised their performance. He told his staff the army was essential for operations beyond the Rhine. After the Rhine crossing, Montgomery's staff submitted operational plans for advancing into northern Germany. The plans included Ninth Army forces. Montgomery argued that removing Ninth Army now would disrupt operations that were already underway. He told Eisenhower that the Ruhr encirclement required continued unity of command. Ninth Army was positioned to complete the encirclement from the south. Transferring the army to American command in the middle of the operation would be militarily foolish. The irony was a jagged pill for the Americans to swallow. Patton had been starved of fuel in September to prop up Montgomery's 90% successful failure at Market Garden. Now, Montgomery was asking to steal those resources again, proving that for some, the alliance was only a tool for personal glory. Eisenhower saw exactly what Patton had predicted. Montgomery was using operational necessity to extend his command of Ninth Army indefinitely. Every operation led to another that supposedly required keeping the army under British command. Bradley told Eisenhower the time had come. Montgomery had his Rhine crossing. The operation was successful. Now return the army as promised. Eisenhower agreed. On April 4th, 1945, Ninth Army officially returned to Bradley's 12th Army Group. The transfer was final. Montgomery commanded only British and Canadian forces for the rest of the war. Montgomery protested to Churchill. This would cripple his advance into northern Germany. Ninth Army had been essential to every operation since the Rhine crossing. Taking it away now made no military sense. Churchill did not intervene. The political cost of fighting this battle was too high. Britain's influence over Allied strategy had been declining since D-Day. This was the final admission that American forces would be commanded by Americans. Simpson's Ninth Army continued advancing into Germany under Bradley's direction. They linked up with Soviet forces at the Elbe River later in April. The army that Montgomery had desperately wanted to keep played its role in the final victory under American command. Montgomery's 21st Army Group advanced into northern Germany and the Netherlands with only British and Canadian forces. They liberated the Dutch population. They captured German ports. They accepted surrender of German forces in their sector on May 4th. But Montgomery was commanding only Commonwealth forces. His vision of leading a massive Allied thrust to Berlin had died in January when Eisenhower took First Army away. The Rhine crossing with Ninth Army had been his final operation commanding American troops. Eisenhower's compromise wasn't just a political bridge. It was a strategic gauntlet that Montgomery was bound to struggle with. By letting Montgomery keep one army temporarily, Eisenhower proved that even with American strength, Montgomery's methodical approach was slower than American mobile warfare. Patton crossed the Rhine first. American armies advanced faster into Germany. Montgomery, with Ninth Army, still couldn't match Patton's speed. The gamble of giving Montgomery one last chance with Ninth Army was risky. 4 months earlier, Montgomery's Operation Market Garden had failed disastrously despite intelligence warnings he ignored. Montgomery had called that failure 90% successful and faced no consequences. Eisenhower was betting Montgomery had learned from that disaster. He hadn't. When Montgomery tried to keep Ninth Army permanently after the Rhine crossing, Eisenhower had justification to take it away. Montgomery had been given his chance. He had gotten his elaborate operation. Now American armies would finish the war under American command using American operational methods. The lesson? Coalition warfare requires trust, and Montgomery destroyed that trust with his press conference. Eisenhower gave him one last chance with Ninth Army. Montgomery tried to exploit it. He lost everything. In the end, Montgomery's vision of a great northern thrust to Berlin didn't die in a German ambush. It died in a press room. By choosing his ego over the alliance, he lost the trust of the men he needed most. Eisenhower gave him enough rope to hang himself, and Montgomery used every inch of it.